Some of that for me too is anxiety. I just have
Yeah.
a lot of anxiety. So when there's loose ends, they just really bother me. It's like an itch that needs scratched. The way that I've explained it to people, and I've probably said this to you before, is that the way I look at it is that I'm always off work. But the second something comes in, I'm working until I've completed the task. And then I'm off work again.
His name is Russ. He bought that mic. And now he's got a podcast show.
And I work from home for the most part too.
Yep.
I mean, we can be like hanging out watching a movie together and I'll be actively working. I just have to answer an email, maybe like step out of the room to answer a call or whatever. But I would much rather that than have to make a morning commute and then just be gone throughout the day. And then like show up at dinner time. It's kind of the opposite for us. It's with the way, at least on the brokerage side, because the investor side's a little bit different, but at least on the brokerage side, which is really where the majority of my time goes, I'm really just on call. So the way that I've explained it to people, and I've probably said this to you before, is that the way I look at it is that I'm always off work. But the second something comes in, I'm working until I've completed the task, and then I'm off work again. But it's constant, so it's ebb and flow all the time. But that's why I just do stuff like as soon as it comes in. I mean, there's plenty of stuff that I have to push back for some reason. I might need more information from somebody else, so I've got to kick the can down the road. But when stuff comes in, I try to just get it done, and then I'm unencumbered again, and I can do whatever I need to do until a new task comes up, and then I just do it. Some of that for me too is anxiety. I just have a lot of anxiety. So when there's loose ends, they just really bother me. It's like an itch that needs scratched. So I just like to have things done because I just feel like there's this pressure off me. And then I'm basically just like in holding formation, living my life, doing whatever I kind of want to do until a new task comes in, and then I deal with it.
Well, let's talk about alcoholism, anxiety, and golf.
Sure.
Right?
They're all one and the same, I think. It's just obsessive behavior. Is all that it is. So
obsessive behavior. I get it.
Yeah, it's just obsessing over whatever. And that for that first 10 years after college, when I started doing this stuff at like 24, I'm almost 37 now. But that first 10 years, I didn't have any hobbies. The obsession was like, don't drink and work, basically, which is not necessarily healthy, but it's better than the alternative.
You substitute one addiction for another. It's cross addiction.
Yeah, exactly.
Substitute one addiction for another.
Yep. And there's plenty of people that can get away from that. For me, I think a lot of mine is anxiety that drives all that stuff. I just kind of feel like I always need to be doing something. Like anytime you're with me, like my legs are jittering and I'm picking at something, or, I've kind of always got to be, I always have to have perpetual motion.
And you feel guilty if you're not engaged in something.
Yeah, I just feel lazy. Even if it's like weeding the yard or like blowing leaves. Like if I'm not doing something, I feel like lazy, I
did it yesterday. I ran through all of my phone calls and I'm sitting at my desk strumming my fingers. So I go outside and pull the garden hose out and manually water all of our plants.
Yeah.
Which we have 100 plants. So it's like, I can't just do nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's for a lot of us that have had substance abuse issues. I think that's a big part of it is just like this just motor that you can't slow down. Like you stopped by my house the other day in the middle of the day and I was in the crawl space, just like crawling around, checking stuff.
I stopped by. So true story. 2 days ago, I stopped by Troy's house to drop off a check for my quarterly dues and my office fees and everything. And I'm ringing the Ring doorbell and I'm walking around the house. The dogs are barking and he comes boiling out of the crawl space of the house with this bundle of wire. That you had gathered up. It's like, there's some water under the house and I'm getting that out of there, but I found this wire and I had to just that need to always be doing something.
Yeah. Yeah, which serves, I mean, it's very useful if you know how to harness it, So for that first however many years, that was sort of the obsession, was like just like incremental growth with sales, agents, brokerage, flips, rental doors, whatever it may be, just sort of like slowly building things up. Because I'm also not like an exponential growth guy. It scares me. I like small incremental growth, which about me, just being a little bit more conservative in that regard. But then I didn't have any hobbies other than that. So other than a periodic video game, just like as a, sort of distraction. But I bought a property as an Airbnb where you have to join the country club there. So I joined and I was like, I guess I should play golf because I've paid for this. And then immediately got obsessed with it. I never really played golf. And now I'm pretty thoroughly obsessed with it. I am in a slump right now, which is a bummer. So I've started playing a lot of tennis too, and that's another
Oh,
obsession.
you're in
Obsession.
tennis now
Yes,
too.
I have like dual obsessions at the moment.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good. He is very patient with me and lets me play golf with him,
Mhm.
even though I'm terrible. And I get good coaching. If you see the Dan Rivers episode, same thing. Dan coaches me through, and I've played with other people who are like, "You're on your own, dude. I can't even play with you." But
Well,
I appreciate the fact that you're patient with me.
I mean, I haven't been playing long. I'd started during COVID, really, so I'm not like far enough away from that period to have forgotten how hard it is. You just don't get to play enough. You got to play more.
Yeah, I know. That's what everybody tells me. Is you'll
Hmm.
get better if you play more.
Yeah. Well, then you hit a wall. I'm in a pretty bad slump right now. I've had to go back to taking lessons and very regularly. I'm seeing my guy every 2 weeks. So we're kind of fixing everything at the moment. But you do need to have leisure. You got to have hobbies too with this
Sure.
stuff. If you don't, you're going to burn yourself out, which is what I was kind of facing pretty seriously at that time. Was
Okay.
just working constantly. I mean, there would be little bits and pieces in there. Travel kind of became an obsession for us too. And at that time, we didn't have the resources. We weren't really doing as well financially. So we had to be really scrappy with those trips. And that was fun. The whole thing was a
With the
puzzle.
travel, yeah.
Yeah. It was like looking for flight deals and then
So
like
did you go as much as hostels and that sort of thing, or?
not quite. We weren't far from that, but that's Airbnb has
Yeah,
made that easier. Now it's probably not quite as high quality as it was, but at the time, Airbnbs were better. And I think there just weren't as many of them and it hadn't become quite so saturated. So pretty much anywhere we went then, we would find an Airbnb that was like in a certain part of town where you felt like you really could kind of immerse yourself into the city very well. Now with the kid, we like hotels more now just for the convenience of like a gym and restaurants right there. And if there's a kids club, like that kind of stuff, it makes it a lot easier now. But it's just different. We just travel differently now that we have a kid.
yeah. I like Airbnb because I have a bunch of kids
Hmm.
and we'd have to get multiple hotel rooms. Plus, I prefer to cook my own meals because my stomach gets upset pretty easily.
Hmm.
So having the Airbnb to, eat one meal a day out and two meals a day in has been really useful for us for traveling. And
Yeah.
plus we have a pile of kids, so you gotta have beds for everybody.
Yeah, and if you bring your animals too, I mean, you got dogs, if the dogs are coming. Travel for us, because of my anxiety, and my wife too, neither one of us want to be gone really more than a week. Like a week is like a long time for us. We start getting really anxious because we
Yeah,
board our dogs. We have an Airbnb at our house, at a guest house that my wife runs. That's kind of her primary
right.
little hustle. She doesn't have to work full time anymore like she used to. We have a couple of little side hustles that she can supplement her income with. Like 5 to 7 days, we're ready. We're ready to get back. So
Yeah. So talk about Rachel and the side hustles and
mhm.
how she replaced her job with managing your Airbnb and then the side hustles.
Yeah, she had very traditional corporate jobs, like software company stuff for the most part here in Charleston, and really wasn't compensated. I think this is still the case for a lot of these companies, not compensated well for the amount of hours and work and responsibility that they had at these companies. And she just was very dissatisfied with them. Specifically, one, it was largely a commuting issue because the commute was like really terrible for her to get there. And she was
Yeah.
just really unhappy with work. And we were getting close to a point where she didn't necessarily need to work, but it still was very helpful. Because I've just always been very insistent that we live below our means. So I didn't want to like stretch paychecks out too much. And then she got pregnant with our son, and the insurance, the benefits were great where she was.
Yeah.
So what we decided to do was like, let's have him on their insurance, and then go back and see if you really want to be there or not, if you really want to stay or not. If you don't, then we can probably subsidize her with the Airbnb. We had an Airbnb in a garage at our house that we'd had operating for a couple of years.
Yes.
And it was about half of her income approximately with that. But she was willing to take that haircut just to improve her quality of life. And then I supplemented it a little bit more with some administrative stuff that I give her.